We're looking at a conversation where we talk about saving and investment, building a culture amongst middle income earners into the third hour this morning. And Muthoni Muuo is the portfolio manager at CIC Asset Management, and she's here to talk to us about that today. Good morning, Muthoni.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
You are in the hot seat.
Clearly.
Yes. And even before they tell you welcome, they're going to ask you, excuse me, save what with what? That's the question already. And before we, turn up the embers on that seat, let's welcome you. At least, with a proverb. Yeah, let's start out that way. Never know what's going to come thereafter.
True.
And CT is going to welcome you with today's proverb.
All right.
This is the final proverb from the country of DRC.
Wow, okay.
Yes, the whole of this week our proverbs have been from DRC. Next week we move to Namibia.
Interesting.
The eye always envies what is forbidden. Mm-hmm. That is what the proverb for today is.
Sounds closer to you want what you cannot get.
Oh, well, that's interesting of putting it.
Yeah, because the eye is always looking for what is forbidden. So it sounds kind of like that.
You always want what you cannot get.
But yeah.
It's not fair, Abby.
I know, right? But that sounds something
And
like
who determines that you can't get it? Is it you, forces beyond?
Or the person who has it?
Yes, and what is it? Yes. And if they have it, can you not get it elsewhere?
Isn't it? Well, maybe that particular one thing.
But you're limiting your vision if it's just that particular one.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
Isn't it?
Yes.
Well, that one thing that we all want is maybe a nest egg or something that you're going to put away for future. And I think, who says you can't have it, right, Muthoni?
Yeah.
So we're having a conversation about creating a savings culture, an investment culture for middle income earners today. So let's start. Who is a middle income earner? What do you earn to be classified in Kenya today as a middle income earner?
So Kenya National Bureau of Statistics estimates or puts that someone who earns between about 48,000 to about 180,000, that would be considered a middle income earner.
48 to 180?
Yeah,
okay.
Thereabout.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What is middle about it?
I think because
middle of what?
Yes. So let me give you context. Okay. So we do have those, the CEOs of big companies who earn in the millions, more than even 5 million. And then there are those people who, in fact, there's a conversation where security guards should be earning around 30,000 Kenya
Very
shillings.
good. That's a wonderful thing.
Yes. So you can, and then the vast majority of Kenyans, many Kenyans would probably be around, 30 or less.
Yes.
So the middle now becomes, from around 48 to let's say 50 to 150, 180. Okay. That's where it becomes the middle.
Okay.
It is true. And yet, that same Kenya National Bureau of Statistics tells you that if you're looking at a simple Mwananchi, as we like calling him in this country, who falls into the category of what you call a universal basic income, consumes something like around 6,000 shillings a month.
Yeah.
The other is 6,000. Now, if that's at the lower end completely, and then you're saying the middle is around 48. And this has been there for some time.
Yeah.
The presumption is that this amount of money could get you certain things with a certain guarantee. See, why you hear me querying it? I always query it because if the statistics states that is the middle class and that's a constant, what about other factors that contribute to it that are not constant?
Right. So one, it is not a constant. It changes as the economy grows or detracts. So it changes every time. It's just that's what the average has been over the recent past, like you have mentioned. Yeah. So other factors I think they just want to say income, the average income or the average middle income, where would they be? Let's say 50 to 150. A poor could be, from negative to, below that. Yeah.
But I'll take this discussion further. If I look at how it is we deal with the indices and we deal with some of the ways of calculating this, we are talking about matrices that we've been introduced to, we've studied. And it assumes that money is what you use for every other service that you acquire. That's how it's measured.
Correct.
But that is not true about us Africans in Kenya. We don't quite survive that way, not quite.
Yeah. I mean, true. I mean, you actually do bring an interesting view into that because they just largely just look at salary per se.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, but people have other sources of income that
Very
is not
many
salary.
other sources of income, and even our food is not always bought directly from shops as people assume.
Exactly, and especially from the rural area, I may not have a high salary,
Yes,
but I'm
but-
not poor because I'm able to feed myself.
Now, you've understood what I'm saying perfectly.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at this
Exactly.
amount, because so if we're talking about then being able to put something away, and we're talking about the source of where that comes from,
Yeah.
then the assumption is that there is a salary. That
Yes.
you're working for somebody, isn't it?
Exactly.
So now this amount that we're looking at, I'm going to stay on this 48 to 180 as reference. Is this after tax? Because it's a buzzword nowadays in this economy. You have to look at everything after everything has been taken to Caesar,
Yeah.
and what Caesar has left you with. Are we
Yeah.
now talking about what you're able to save or invest with while still being able to stay alive?
Yeah.
After the pound of flesh then has been taken. Is that what we're looking at?
No. So Caesar has to take what is his. So KRA will come and deduct all the deductions from that. So
Yes.
the figures we talk about are gross.
So now when we take away what Caesar has taken, this 48 to 180 changes significantly, does it not?
It does.
Okay, so we're looking at least 30%. At least 30% of this figure then has changed. If it was 48,000, we are looking at minus 16. Is it not?
Yeah.
Yes. So now the person who started with 48,000 now has 32,000.
Yep.
The person who started with 180,000 now has 120.
Thereabouts,
So now we're looking at 32,000 shillings to 120,000 shillings.
Exactly.
Muthoni, you're asking us to then be able to pay for shelter if it is not your own. Even if it were your own, there are certain maintenance that you have to take care of every now and then. And we look at the same KNBS who gave us some statistics just the other day, which interestingly enough we spoke about this morning, where they say the person who is living on an average will spend 7,000 shillings feeding themselves and their families of 5, all right, on average.
Yep.
They will also then spend 5,000 shillings for this shelter, whatever it is. Okay, so if the person is earning 32,000 shillings, now we've taken 12 away.
Yeah.
Okay, you now have 20. And then they will spend another 6,000 shillings if they have children on school fees per month. We now have 14. They will now spend an average of 2,500 to 4,000 shillings on transport. Okay, we had how much? 12 left.
Yep.
We've taken now another 4,500. So now we have 7,500 shillings left.
Yep.
And then if we look at other things that they need to do, beauty, it was now termed as miscellaneous things, upkeep, etc., 3,000 shillings. This is not me. This is KNBS who has said this. So now from that 7,000 shillings, we move 3,000. And it's not 3,000 for Ndu who is speaking, or Muthoni, or Charles. It is the family, all of these people who are involved in this.
Yep.
So now from that 7,000 shillings, we have taken another 3,000 shillings. We have 4,000 shillings left. This is assuming that nobody will get sick. Anything will happen to them. The same KNBS also does tell us that 5,000 shillings on average is used for healthcare. We now at -1. So, Muthoni, please tell us, where is saving and investment coming
in?
This is the person at the lower end of the spectrum, which you've also told us is what the majority of people in Kenya today are earning.
Yeah, that's a difficult question, right? But Kenyans are resilient. Kenyans are really resilient, and they're able to squeeze themselves if they have to achieve the goals that they need to. So I know Kenyans, if investment is your goal, you will squeeze yourself to at least put something aside. And usually a good example is if you look at teachers. I mean, their salaries are not the highest. Even police are not the highest, but they're able to educate their children all the way to university. So it just shows is if you're able to just say, as a Kenyan, yes, my situation is not the best. I'm not earning a lot of money, but I can control the little that I earn so that I can be able to put something aside to be able to achieve my financial goals. And that's the only way you can achieve it, honestly speaking. Yeah, I know there's this frequent adage that they said it's not what you earn, it's what you do with what you earn that will help you achieve any goal, actually, that you would have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we do this? And I think that's the question here.
Right.
So now let's start with the 32,000. Because again, we're dealing with tax has gone. How then do you, with what you have, get into a culture where you can save and or invest?
All right. So there's a quick Kiswahili saying, so I'll come to Kenya. Haba na haba hujaza kibaba. Which means, slowly you can be able to achieve your goals. So if you're able to only save 500 this month, put it aside. If you're able to save 4,000 this month, put it aside. And eventually you'll be able to put up a good sum of money that will be able to help you to start your savings and investments plan. Yeah.
Does that mean you're taking something away from something else?
You'd have to do that. And that's why you have to prioritize. You have to say, what do I want to do? Say, Francis, if I want to buy a plot, it's 50,000 Kenya shillings, and I'm taking home 32. So obviously I cannot buy it in a month. But I can say it'll take me 50 months to buy it. Or it'll take me 10 months to buy it. So that means I have to put aside 5,000 every month to be able to accumulate to the 50,000 to buy that plot or whatever it is. So I think the key message here is the mindset. When you choose to do something, you're able to, change things around, sacrifice that, food or lunch that you needed, go to a smaller house if you have to be able to achieve the dreams and the goals that you have. Yeah. Is it easy? No. Yeah, it's not easy, but you have to be focused in what you want to do. Yeah.
So that's an investment or saving for yourself. Oftentimes when you then think about investments, you're looking at where you now will be able to earn profits, whether in the midterm or in the long term. And what are some of those things that Kenyans, people, can start to think about now? Because look, the situation does look pretty dim, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And then you say in the midst of this, a tree can grow, something can come out of it. What is that?
All right. So you're asking, very good question. So you're asking what can people do to be able to, get income or to substitute what they're currently getting. Thereabout, yeah. So there are many investment options that are there for both low income and middle income earners in Kenya. So I don't get to the details now. I think we'll get a chance to do that. But just to give a hint, money market funds are usually the best to be able to do this. So it's just an avenue where you're able to come, put in your money on a regular basis, and then every month you're actually able to earn a little interest. And so this begins to, with time, it begins to even help you substitute with the monthly costs that you have.
Let me ask you a question that I always ask whenever we're talking about a concept that is actually structured to be useful and to help someone in the immediacy term, middle term, and even long term.
Yeah.
How have efforts or have adequate efforts been made to ensure that this idea is actually taught in schools? You see, our influences when we grow up are not influences in adulthood, they begin in our childhood.
True.
The way we treat people, the way we look at the world, the way we relate to people, all those things.
Yeah.
Now, if we think something is of great importance, don't we think that this is something people should be introduced to in childhood? So you grow up understanding that so that for you it is normal.
Yeah.
I look at, we always have these discussions about economies and borrowing and what have you. What is often left out in the conversation is countries that have borrowed in terms of the percentage of the GDP that have gone in excess of the 100 percentile. Usually they borrow from their own institution. It's domestic borrowing in their currency. So there is no risk of it going up and down.
There's no currency fluctuation.
Yeah, but two, the citizens have a culture of saving. So the money is there to be borrowed. It actually exists.
Yeah.
Because people who have a culture of saving don't go around spending it, they save it. Japan being a perfect example of such a country. So now, if we think it is important and it isn't taught or it isn't introduced as something that children should get to learn as they learn English, Kiswahili, physics, chemistry, biology, then how important is it really?
It really is important. You bring out a good point. And I think this is something even the Ministry of Education should be able to incorporate from as low as primary school. But because we
why do you want to begin with primary school?
At least primary you can be able to discuss and talk. Nursery you're still learning your vowels.
That's the point.
Are you able to say money?
That's the point. The very tools you use to introduce this child into the world that they're going to live in, that is it.
Okay.
Yes. So that child has a brain. That brain functions. They know what to do, what not to do. They know that they're hungry. They know how to eat. They know how to play. They can learn.
It's perfect.
If I can piggyback on that, just, even as you come to answer that, look at anything that happened in the world that succeeded, anything. And whether you want to call it good or bad. And I think back when you look at the system of spies, for example, and how they wanted to make sure that people grew up in a way of being. They started from when the child was able to utter a word or a sound, and that they inculcated them into that state of being from when they were children. And it doesn't really matter what it was. If you look at the systems of Reaganomics in the US, whereby they wanted to make sure that everybody grew up in this capitalistic way of doing things, it was kids at the age of 3 or 4 who were selling lemonade at 5 cents a pop on the side of the road during the summer holidays. And they grew up in that knowledge where they knew, I'm going to sell it for 5 cents and I'm going to keep 2 cents aside and spend the 3 cents to then be able to get something else. Children.
So by the time that child is 18,
by the time the child is 18, they can actually say, well, you know what, I want to be emancipated, which became a thing. I want to be emancipated. And then because of those things that I did when I was younger and my parents encouraged it and the system around me too encouraged it, the likelihood of me running away in my mind from that kind of conditioning then is very slim. Right. But here we are asking adults who are formed in their ways over at least 18, 20, 25 years to say, well, you know what you need to do now is you need to start saving. And this is something that
is foreign to them.
Absolutely.
Alien.
Yeah.
Alien.
So you are right. You should start as early as possible. But and like I said, something Ministry of Education should inculcate. However, because we do not have any influence over the Ministry of Education, we do not have any influence over the government policies. Then in terms of direct, we're not the ones who can make the policy, but we can, we cannot make the policy, but we can push them too. Yes, we can influence them. But the point I was going to make is then this is what becomes important. This session that we're having here today, to be able to educate people, to know it doesn't matter whether you grew up not knowing this, learn its importance now. You can't change the past, but you can change the future.
Is it possible to do that? And this is a thing that oftentimes you say, well, I read something this morning and it was, those inspirational things. I say, late bloomers are still bloomers, and it's never too late because some of the world's most successful people then stepped onto the doors of success well after the age of 50 or 55, and then it's possible to do.
Yeah, like KFC at 65.
Such things. So what we're telling people now is like, you know what? You've eaten into the thing. There's even nothing left. You're living from hand to mouth. And that's the thing that we're living from hand to mouth. Is it possible to take something from the hand before it gets to the mouth and put it under the mattress kind of thing? And can you actually flip the script and do something different? I saw a comment here when we're saying, all right, 50,000 shillings that you earn and 80% of it goes towards rent. What on earth is Muthoni asking me to save? How would you deal with that situation?
Yeah. So it's just, you've actually captured it quite well. And we say, it's never too late. It's never too late. If, KFC was created when the guy was 65 years old, it doesn't matter whether you were not taught how to save when you were young, you can change from now. And then it's to just be cognizant of the current position you are in. So know thyself. If you're in a lot of debt, then you have to be aware and say, I have to plan and get out of this excessive debt that I have. And if I have to get into debt, it needs to be good debt that is able to bring back money. Because what we're trying to do is be financially independent. In the end, that's what we're looking at, to be financially independent. And what does this mean? Is that I'm able to generate income from the investments that I have that could be able to cover the expenses that I have. And so that's why it's never too late. You can say, fine, this, depending on the journey or where you are, it could take you 10 years, it could take you 10 months, but you just have to start. You have to decide financial independence, financial wellness, that's my aim, and I'm going to achieve it, and this is what I'm going to do to be able to achieve it. Go look for the information. It is out there. We're in an information age. So you just, take out your phone, any device, Google, how can I make money, or wealth advisors. And institutions such as ours, CIC Asset Management, we have a vast amount of wealth advisors who are able to sit with you. And it doesn't matter whether you have 5,000 or 50 million in your account. We are able to sit with you and tell you what you want to achieve and take you there. to be able to get out of this debt trap and rat race that we are in, where you're not able to feed yourself, yet you have a salary. Yeah. So that's what we do. Have a sit down, read. Don't. If you don't know, read on it. If you don't know, ask. And come, we have a wealth of information at our place to be able to help you to meet your needs.
You make it almost sound like it's plug and play. Find the research, do the thing, and the results will come out of it. Is that what we're saying? It's like a recipe. If you put all the ingredients together, put it in the oven, a cake is going to pop out at the end of 50 minutes, whatever. It sounds easier said than done.
It's definitely sounds easier said than done. But that's why you seek help. If you're ill and you stay at home and you don't seek any help, you will continue getting ill, and God forbid you pass on. But if you're ill and you say, I need to get out of this illness, you will seek help. So you'll either go to your dispensary, your clinic, your doctor, your hospital, but you will seek help. So it's the same thing here. If you're ill financially, then you go out, seek out wealth advisors, seek out financial advisors who'll be able to assist you. And that's what we are here for. So it's not plug and play, but it is structured for you. So everyone's experience will be different.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Titi?
The concept of saving, if you simply label it saving, communicates putting money aside, full stop. But that's really not what saving is about. It's a lot more than just that. So how do you communicate that concept in a way that an ordinary Mwananchi Kenyan can understand? Now, most Kenyans have understood saving to mean joining a SACCO. Okay? Because with the SACCO, apart from just the money being there, after a while you can borrow, and you can borrow certain amounts. And there are many people who've actually done a great deal with their SACCOs. Whether it's paying fees, whether it's building a house. They could actually tell you that if it wasn't for the SACCO, whatever developments I've made in my life, physical developments, financial decisions, these have been because of the SACCO. So now, how do you get them to communicate beyond the SACCO? They've understood the SACCO. Is there more to the SACCO? Because a SACCO, you save, you can borrow 3 times more. There are other forms of saving that may offer you something similar, but most people are not aware that it exists. But in addition to that, they'll offer you something that a SACCO can't. They offer you insurance.
All right.
So beyond just the benefits of the money and the ability to borrow against whatever you have, there's something else that in the event that this untoward thing happens to you, they're telling you, we'll look after this and this and this and this and this. How do you communicate this?
All right, thank you, Siti. That's a wonderful question. And I think I'll emphasize on the word SACCO and its importance, because SACCO is savings and credits. In other terms, it could be chama, or it could be investment club. So it's just fancy names for savings, pretty much, SACCO. And in fact, CIC is based on and built from the SACCO society. So just coming together towards a collective agenda. So SACCOs, what do? You put money aside every month or every so often with the aim of being able to get debt. And it's the same thing with investments, savings and investments, whether it's in a SACCO or in any other platform. And for us, at SICAM, our platform is the Money Market Fund, which is our largest savings and investment platform. And it's the same thing. In fact, if you asked what is a Money Market Fund, it is a formalized chama. And what's a chama? A SACCO. Yeah. So we're just saying it is people bringing the money together and then investing and being able to get something in return, or a merry-go-round. It's just formalizing those informal things that we used to have and bringing and putting it together. Yeah. So the concept of saving, like you said, coming from SACCOs, we've just been able to enhance that and make it easier for people to be able to access it from anywhere in the world. Yeah.
You've said something that's very interesting that struck me. You said, as a SACCO, you then save money in order to get debt. You didn't say take a loan. You didn't say access credit or capital. You said in order to get debt. Why did you say that?
Well, they mean the same thing, but it's as a means to be able to get debt.
Yeah.
It's taking a loan.
You're getting into debt, because usually it's taking a loan and you leave it at that. But what we're saying essentially is that when you do this, you get debt, and then you then have an obligation that you have to then, pay back.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I never heard it like that, but I think that's interesting. It puts a bit of a mindset marker that this is actually, what you're getting into. The pain point for a lot of folk, though, and I know that we might stick on this, is that with what you earn, for a lot of people today, the realization, and it's not just being sensational or being whiny, that it is not enough, right? That you may save, but then you are going to have a negative. So what I hear you saying is that you are then looking to people to look for something else to do, the side hustle mentality, as it were. The question is, what can you think of, or what can you do that will then be in line with protecting what you have to secure something else in addition to?
That's a great question. Thank you. And I think the critical thing to look at here is, how can I make more income, right? And so investments are the answer to that. So, and whether it's, if you're moderate, whether it's a money market fund, if you're, a high risk like Charles looks to be, you can invest in an equity fund. And though you look like you're a focused person, you can invest in a fixed income fund. So what you're trying to do is look for alternatives to this salary. It could flip.
I love your sense of humor.
Yeah. But yeah, the point is you work with what you have. So if you have just a little money set aside, put that, invest it so it can generate you an income. And I think that's the story I'm trying to give today, is that there's an opportunity for you to be able to make money for yourself. Yeah. And not everyone is skilled at being an entrepreneur, but people have whatever you have, whether it's from your salary, from your side hustle, from your entrepreneurship, an inheritance. You want to be able to protect that, the little that you have or the much that you have, and grow it. Yeah. Okay. That's the aim, to protect and grow what you've been able to do.
A lot of times we don't look at the importance of a little, a widow's mite, as it were. And we say, and we're not, look, 5,000 shillings today is lofty. It is lofty. So somebody who says, well, you know what? By the time I finish everything and I have put aside this, that, what I'm left with is 500 shillings. And the adage is between myself and poverty. Are you saying that even that 500 shillings is not too little for you to take and then put it somewhere where it could either grow something for you or put it into something that would then grow into a business, for example? Is that what we're saying? Because I think that what we need to do, especially in these times, is be practical.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the inspirational and sensational side of it, where it said, you can be whatever you want. I started as a chicken farmer and here I am owning poultry for the globe. But we can be practical, whereby truly, Muthoni, what you actually have in your pocket or in your M-Pesa, when all is said and done, is 500 shillings. The person who has this water, and then there's the debt part of it. You have debt, so you have a negative 50,000. Where do you start from? And I think we want to know, what can you actually do practically to dig yourself out of that hole? I mean, you've given some examples of who you can go and have a chat with, but with that 500 shillings in your pocket, are you armed with enough to actually make a difference?
Okay, perfect question, and thank you for that. And I'll give you a practical example. And I'll give CIC Asset Management. Our current minimum for the money market fund is 5,000 shillings. We are looking to review that, given the feedback we've been able to get. And so if all you have is 500 shillings, there's nothing that stops you from putting it aside. Get another 1,500, put it aside. Get another 1,500, put it aside. And then finally get another 500. Yeah. And then you have your 5,000 and you're able to invest in it. Yeah. So it's investments has been democratized. We've been able to lower the minimum. It used to be as high as 10,000. We've brought it down to 5,000, and we're taking it further down to be able to enable this middle income and even lower. Because for 500 and 5,000, a low income earner can be able to achieve that, and then invest your money. And the benefit of the investment structure that we have, and I'm emphasizing on the money market fund, is because it provides you with an avenue to meet your goals. Yeah. Well, and then, so and then it also gives you liquidity. So if you're saying, I want to save 100,000 in the next 2 years, because we're talking about middle income earners here, not the high. So I want to earn 100,000 in 2 years. But a year down the line, you have an emergency of whatever kind, or black tax, whichever. But you are able to access the funds as and when you need. You meet your emergency or whatever it is, and then you continue saving. So that's What we're trying to say is that it is possible.
Okay.
It is possible to start saving.
You insist on this
growing.
money market fund quite
Yes.
some.
Yeah.
Can you just, because you said it can be likened to a chama, but okay, what exactly is it? How does it work? What are the risks of it? And then how do folks get into it?
Okay. So a money market fund is just a fancy name for a formalized chama. So it's and a chama is, you're collecting money, putting money together, and it's a collective investment scheme. So you bring your 5 million, he brings his 10 million.
25 million.
Oh, sorry. He brings his 25 million, and then we take 5,000 from someone else. We get 100 million from the big institutions, and then the 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, and we bring it all together, and then we invest it on your behalf. And so we invest it in secure investments, because one of the critical things, and especially at CIC Asset Management, is investment security. You want that if you give me your 5,000 or your 50 million, that you will at least get it back. And so we take that money and we invest in securities that have that capital preservation. Capital preservation simply means you give me your money, you will get it back. Yeah. So invest in government securities, invest in investment-grade corporate securities, and we're able to get an interest regularly. And then for our fund, we give you an interest on a monthly basis. So you actually have compounding interest coming in. And Albert Einstein says, compounding interest is one of the 8 wonders of the world. And it's able to grow your money very fast. And so if you're consistent in your saving, you're able to grow your wealth and your funding very fast. So other features about the money market fund is liquidity. Like I said, is as and when you need your money, you're able to get it. And then
with no loss?
With no loss at all. No loss at all. And then it can achieve many objectives. So for instance, if you've just retired, you've gotten your lump sum, you can put it in a money market fund, and then every month you get an income. Or if you've just gotten an inheritance or whatever, you're able to put in your money, you can get a monthly income from it if you want. And if you choose to reinvest, then you're able to accumulate and grow your wealth quite aggressively in this money market fund that we have. And it also provides diversification. So typically as individuals, you'll probably just put your money in your bank and leave it there. But for us, we take your money and we diversify it. We put it in multiple assets so that we can reduce the risk and ensure you can get an income.
And so for a money market fund, it is a guarantee that you will get your money back. There will be no long story, that happened, and then therefore we're not able to give you back your money, or it's tied up in assets, whatever, and then there will be a delay on any kind of reimbursement to you. That doesn't come into play?
That doesn't come into play. So in fact, the basis of a money market fund is capital preservation and liquidity. You give me your 10 million, you get it back as and when you need it. As a minimum. So unlike now, I don't know whether I'll choose you or you for the equity fund or for the fixed term fund. We said you're the more aggressive one. No, you're the more aggressive one. You are.
Yeah. So, no, I'm just talkative. I'm not necessarily aggressive.
Okay.
There's a fundamental difference.
There's a fundamental difference.
Yes.
All right.
The
risk taker then.
That I am.
Yes. So
often to my detriment, but I am.
Yes, if you're a risk taker, you have equity fund, which is just shares, investing in companies that are listed in the NSE. So then you're not a risk taker. So it's not for you.
I am a risk taker, but shares
you would not buy.
I will not buy.
All right.
Not in the traditional sense of the word, where you're talking about shares that are traded on the
Nairobi Securities Exchange.
No, not that. Not that. I would look for something that looks like a business that is going in a certain direction. I would be interested in participating in such a process.
It's the same thing.
No.
But story for another day.
You know, it's not the same thing. I have to comment on this. The reason why it's not the same thing, the shares that are on the open market, I have no control over. I have no big say. There are too many other factors that are at play, and many of them I have no idea of. Okay? This one, when it is you and the company, I have a very clear idea.
Yeah.
If there's something I don't know, I can always ask and figure it out. Okay? That is all. I am not saying it is unsafe. This is now what you call preference.
True, and you are allowed to have that. But when I say they're the same, is the concept is the same. It's a business. It's a company that's doing a specific business, and you're going to get the returns from the business that has made. It's only that the Nairobi Securities Exchange gives you liquidity. You can easily get in and out of it. Unlike this one that you're talking about, it will only be you and the private investors who would be able to invest in it. But the concept is the same. Is you're supporting business, and you're able to get a return from it.
I never really thought of it that I'm supporting business. I will look at it as I'm trying to make money.
Yes, ultimately. So you're supporting business to be able to make money from it. Yes. And then the fixed income fund, which, like the name says, you have fixed income. So you have, you're able to get interest on a regular basis. Ours is every 6 months. And so you can plan and know every 6 months I'll be able to get a specific amount of money and make my money that way.
You can?
Yeah.
What's the minimum?
5,000 Kenyan shillings. So for all our products.
Over what period of time?
So now that's the benefit, is you can choose. If you want 5 years, you'll just invest for 5 years. If you want 10 years, you just invest for 10 years. And as and when. And so if you say my target is 10 years, but I want to extend it to 15, you can. Or if my target is 10 years, but I have gotten something in 5 or 7 years, can I get my liquidity back? And you can.
And is that amount fixed? What if I start with 5,000 and then I'm able to get 6? Can I then put in the 6?
So that now the principal is 6,000. Then I come back and I say my principal rises.
Yes, and that is the nature and the purpose of this product, is that you can keep accumulating and increasing the amount.
And if some land I bought, which I thought was useless, suddenly acquires value and I sell it, and I then have 20,000 and I put it in, is that also permitted?
Exactly. It gives you that flexibility.
Yeah. Muthoni, should you only invest in what you understand? Because a lot of times, folks are going to come and sell you stuff and say, oh, just give me your 5,000 shillings, I'll grow it for you. You don't worry. Just know that at the end of the day, every month, you know that you have 5,000 shillings, I will give you 150 shillings on top of it. Just know that you'll be getting 150. So you put your 5,000 and you know that 150 is coming to you on a monthly. So at the end of the year, you got, give or take, an extra 1,000 plus on your 5,000. You don't know what's happening with your money. You don't know that maybe the people who are investing it for you are maybe making more than the 1,000 they're giving you in the month, in the year, or exactly where this money is going. Should you invest in processes that you do not understand as an individual?
So prudence would say invest in what you understand, and at least get the basics right. So Warren Buffett is one of the biggest investment gurus there is. He says, invest in what you understand. So someone will tell you, oh, this product will multiply your earnings by whatever percentage. But if you don't know what they are investing in, just prudence dictates understand it. Yeah, and then that's why it's important. And I keep emphasizing on the money market fund. Why it's important for such to invest in such products is, one, it's regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. So you have a independent power who oversees this product. So it's not just the person who set it up. There's an independent party. And then there are other multiple independent parties who are there. So you have the fund manager, in this case it's CIC Asset Management. You have a custodian who holds the assets separately. And then you have a trustee. And the trustee is the one who acts on behalf of the investments. So they oversee what is CIC Asset Management doing, and are they making investments in line with what the Capital Markets Authority has said. And then also we have our fund fact sheets, which are available on our website. It's at cic.asset.co.ke. You're able to go there and you can see, we are able to clearly show you these are the assets we have invested in. So we're not telling you we've invested your money and we're not telling you where it is. We're showing you where it's been invested. And so you can clearly understand and see, this is where my money is going, and this is how my money is being made, which is very important. So that you're not putting your money in a place where it's in a black hole, where they could be doing illegal things, and you're the one funding. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's really important to go for institutions that are well known, are reputable, and have the capacity to show you, this is where I've put my money. And that's what CIC Asset Management does with the money market fund. Yeah. And we're able to, across the board, from low income, middle to high income. Yeah. So I can give you an example. Like our current assets under management are 60 billion Kenyan shillings, and our minimum is 5,000. So just telling you, we accommodate people across the spectrum. Yeah.
In terms of what they're able to.
Exactly.
Give us examples. Case studies, because usually sometimes we hear of this is how it has worked where somebody was, crazy in the doldrums and then was able to start saving a little bit, chipping away at it to the point whereby you say this person, at least for now, is standing on 2 feet, as opposed to when they were crawling, standing on 2 feet, then now able to go to the next step.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. My father used to keep telling me, there's a man who used to sell newspapers, and he was able to save about 500 shillings a day.
A real man?
Yes.
Okay. Human being.
But in the olden days, so when I've said selling newspapers, when you could actually make a lot of money from selling newspapers. And so he would be able to put aside 500 shillings every day. So in a month, the work days, in as much as, yes, you would still sell newspapers over the weekend, but you'll be able to save more on the weekdays. So you have 20 days of saving 500 shillings. How much money is that?
10,000.
2,500.
10,000 shillings.
No, I'm going by 5 working days.
Okay.
That's 2,500. If you add the other 2, you're right, 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
Course.
So 2,000.
I'm a bit slow.
It's okay. I got you, Baba. I got you.
Yeah, she's got you. Don't worry. Yeah, so he was able to put aside.
You were getting there eventually.
Excellent. So he got 10,000 shillings. And so as you would imagine, someone who sells newspaper is not really a high income earner, but you're able to put aside 20,000 every month. And so put the money in a money market fund and slowly accumulated it. So of course, there were sacrifices that this person had made. So it means you're not getting the luxury that someone who's spending their 500 is, you are sacrificing it. But you're able to put it aside and you're able to accumulate it. And that's what happened. So he was able to build his portfolio quite fast because he was consistent. He had 20,000 every month. And he was able to buy land in his home. And he was able to build there. And then if compared to now the people who are higher up, who had not been saving, after 10 years, he had his home, he dedicated his children, and he was doing well. And he still had his lump sum that was there earning him income. As opposed to some of his other colleagues who spent all they had, earning much higher, but spent all they had. Yeah. So, I mean, it's practical. It's you choose. I need to be able to be financially independent, and you go ahead and invest.
Yeah. At the risk of sounding repetitive, but I think it is important because the talk of creating a savings culture has been around for a while, but still a lot of us are still unable to get it. So at the risk of sound, what would you say to somebody today, not sure of what tomorrow is and very stressed by the current economic situation, to say that you can actually do something? What would you say to them?
Yeah, so the emergency funds, and that's a very good question. Emergency funds are critical, and saving towards that is even more important. So I think many of us experienced COVID. Many of us are also experiencing these tough economic times that we have now. The cost of living has gone up, and so if you had money set aside, you're able to weather through the storms. Yeah, and so when things are okay, if they ever are, that's a time to put money aside. Even when things are hard, sacrifice and put money aside, because things can get hard. And I'll give you, and just going back to the times of COVID, when we were hit by COVID, you'd imagine this is the worst. It can't get any worse. Yeah, get hit by COVID, and then you have the Russia-Ukraine war. So tougher times. We get Israel and Hamas, even tougher times. So you're just showing that just keep that emergency fund going. It's what will cater and help you going forward. Yeah.
All right.
It's critical.
It is critical. I mean, a lot of stuff. And then, like you say, there's something that everybody can do today.
Yeah.
An example of today might be a bit hard to find in terms of how the process, but what we're saying is one step, put another one in front of the other.
Exactly.
And see what you can get out of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here this morning. It's not too far a thing to say, let's remind ourselves of what we can or cannot do. It's tough, and that's the truth. And I think that's one of the first steps, being able to say that it is tough, but that even in the midst of all that toughness, that there's something that we can do, or there's somewhere that we can start.
Yeah.
Muthoni Muuo is the portfolio manager, CIC Asset Managers, and she's been our guest this hour, fostering and encouraging a savings and investment culture amongst middle income earners, and seeing what we can do within these tough economic times. Thank you for being in the hot seat this morning, and hope to have further conversations like this with you in the future. Asante Sana.
Thank you for having me.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.